Education. We've all contracted it. Some of us are still living with the side effects to this day. Where you got it, when you got it, how you got it, everybody's schooling story is different. Some are more fascinating than others, but none are more interesting than those depicted in entertainment. In high school, I was out here doing stuff like studying, waiting for the school bus, eating in the caf, while anime high schoolers were busy, I don't know, saving the world, rewriting the fabric of reality. And this! Even the Western high schoolers in movies and TV shows were doing more than me. They were busy doing each other. I think that's why I find games set in schools to be so interesting. There's so many different ways to take this thing that we've all experienced in our lives and approach it from a completely different angle. A good school game ties its world and gameplay to its setting so that each part enhances the others and no part is complete without the others. It's like a sturdy bridge. So today we'll be exploring a couple of school games I enjoyed and appreciating the many different ways that this ubiquitous setting can be turned into gaming gold. Let's start off with what Japan has to offer.
Hey, wait, slow down, we're not the cops, man!
You've seen this game before, I can guarantee it. Sakura School Simulator is the darling of quirky, Japan-inspired sandbox games set in a school, and for good reason. It takes the anime school aesthetic and injects LSD directly into its source code. The game has so many zany things to do and see that it seems like it was made for content. Oh hey, it's the guy from Fortnite. Sakura School Sim has some of the menus I've ever seen, but it gets the job done. The character creator is also surprisingly robust, and you can unlock outfits by watching ads. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Yoko Fortnite. The youngest of three siblings, Yoko decided to follow in the footsteps of her older brother Naruto and attend Sakura High School. Being the daughter of a diabolical vampire and a renowned sorceress, Yoko has been blessed with the gifts of both her parents, including magic, flight, and a firearms license. She also wears a mask, not because she wants to hide her fangs, but because she doesn't want to contract a disease that caused a pandemic. You know, education. The game drops us right in front of Yoko's house, which is where this dancing goblin lives, and from there we're free to do whatever our heart desires. The game does suggest we go visit those big guys who dance every Friday night, but that idea seems about as trustworthy as someone with a K-on profile pic. Sakura School Sim's charm comes from the wacky activities and interactions you can have within its surprisingly vast sandbox. It's definitely not the most well-designed game, as you can tell from its menus and choices, but it's quirky enough to cover that. There's also a ton you can do in this game. You can go for a joyride, punch a cow to free the entire zoo, go for sushi, enjoy the Ferris wheel with your boyfriend, visit a log cabin, become a wanted criminal so dangerous that the entire police force is dispatched to kill you on sight with laser snipers. Anyways, I think it's time to go to school. It can be hard to tell, but Yoko's a bit of a troublemaker. She interrupts class to flirt, she skips class to sleep, she kidnaps people, she turns into a Beyblade. Yoko can be a handful at times, but deep down, she means no wrong. I'd refer to Sakura School Simulator as a haha funny content game. Games meant to be played briefly for a quick laugh and to make a YouTube video out of. Here's a chart that I think can categorize all of the haha funny content games. And here's where a couple of those games would lie. The sweet spot for a haha funny content game would be here. Sakura School Sim falls around here. In other words, I think Sakura School Simulator is a bit too crude. I don't mind the messy menus or shaky translation that much, because they don't get in the way and they honestly add to the charm. But stuff like Yoko's wings blocking the view when I'm trying to aim, or her turning from purple to black for no reason, is pretty annoying. When the jank adds to the experience, it's fine, but if it's inhibiting the experience or taking away from it, then it's just an oversight. These annoying little oversights can add up quickly for a haha funny content game and can be the difference between it being a 10-minute romp or an hour-long session. There's also a lot of buildings or hidden areas in this game that are just straight up empty. There's so much free real estate here, you'd think that it was the mind of the average Twitter user. Actually, you could probably put a Popeyes in here.
My customers will feel endangered if they came to this location.
Correct.
I'm talking about possible fights, possible shootouts, a dice game at any moment.
Yes to all the above.
Amazing.
Although there are bugs and oversights that ultimately make Sakura School Sim just below the ideal for a haha funny content game, it's still a game where you can play as a robotic feline butler armed with a flamethrower, subatomic machine gun, and Goku's powers. In other words, it's a really good school game. It has the school setting, it ties it to the gameplay and world design splendidly, and each part enhances the ridiculousness of the other until it all cascades into the delightfully weird final package before us. I also want to give a shout out to the community for Sakura School Simulator. Seeing all these skits, showcases, and short films proves that a 2014 mobile phone game can still be loved and appreciated even almost a decade later. Just Make sure to update your wiki eventually, guys. Oh, if you're wondering what happened with Yoko, she and her boyfriend formed a band and became multi-platinum selling J-rock stars. I'll leave the name of their band up to your imagination. Speaking of imagining, what if Sakura School Sims developers had the tools and resources of, say, a multi-billion-dollar company? They could probably make something even more polished and marketable that could revolutionize the school simulation genre. If only there was someone willing to take up the challenge. On an unrelated note, let's see what China has to offer. My School Simulator is a school simulation game developed by Chinese tech giant NetEase for mobile devices. In addition to publishing and developing a wide catalog of games, the company also owns Grasshopper Manufacture, Quantic Dream, and 3 Pig Farms. From the screenshots and trailers, My School Sim looks like a souped up version of Sakura School Sim. Better graphics and a more cohesive UI are promising, but My School Sim also seems to have enough jank for it to truly be the definitive haha funny content game set within an anime school. I'm honestly quite excited for when it releases. Unfortunately, the game is not in active development anymore, which is a shame honestly. It could have been Sakura School Sim but with better production values, which it kinda already was trying to do, but I digress. Unfortunately, all we have to go off of now are a couple of screenshots, a few gameplay trailers, and an APK that doesn't work anymore. On that note, let's take a break from Japanese-inspired schools and focus on a game that highlights the many benefits that American schooling can bring.
Goodbye. Look at the fucking ragdoll!
I'm from Arizona.
Bad Guys at School is a 2020 casual indie simulation multiplayer violent school game. Hectic multiplayer, fun interactions, ragdoll physics, and just the right amount of bugs makes this a peak haha funny content game, even more so than Sakura School Sim in my opinion. The game does have a single player mode too, but the Steam page mentions it one whole time, and like, come on. What really makes Bad Guys at School fun is the satisfaction that comes with goofing around with your friends. The core gameplay loop of running around and completing oddly specific tasks works splendidly in a multiplayer setting because players are grouped into one of 2 teams, the students or the teachers. This encourages each side to try and sabotage the other while still working towards their own goals, and again, makes it fun with friends. Meanwhile, in single player mode, you're completing missions for the sake of earning currency and getting more missions. Yeah, no, this feels nowhere near as satisfying. It's a good thing that Bad Guys at School nailed its multiplayer so well then. It's honestly the perfect kind of frantic, competitive, casual multiplayer that could be featured in a YouTube video or a Twitch stream. In other words, a haha funny content game.
There's a shark in the lake!
Wait, let me see this. I gotta see this.
Get in there, there's a
Oh no! My car! My car!
Push him! Blair! Push him! See you later, sacrifice him!
My car! Bad Guys at School is a fun game for about an hour, but for a haha funny content game, that's a good amount of time. It's also an excellent school game too. Its world design and gameplay mechanics are intricately tied to the school setting, which in turn allows for crazy shenanigans as the very not school stuff happening helps to elevate the wackiness of it all. In other words, it's a good game that could use some more f***ing.
Hentai 2.
Big red disclaimer, this game contains
Oh my god!
which means that if your age is too low,
You gotta go!
skip to this timestamp if you're under the age of 18. If you're still here, then that must mean you're an adult with a valid passport. Good, because we're going international. This final school game was created by Russian developers, is centered around a Japanese-style school, and features translations to English and Korean, and is called School Game. Sakura School Sim, Bad Guys at School, and even My School Simulator were all school games that mixed action and simulation elements together. But School Game leans far more into the RPG aspect. Every action you take and interaction you make is done using menus. This menu-focused approach does a pretty damn good job of making you feel like a student. One that cracks open more skulls than sodas on a regular basis, but we'll get to that just wait. School Game starts off with a robust character customizer that perfectly summarizes the game as a whole. It's fun and varied, but not very polished. On the plus side, the customization options are deep, especially the game's randomly generated NPCs, or RNPCs for short. You can change their physical traits, outfits, skills, personalities, and so much more. I absolutely adore the depth of the RNPC customization, but on the other hand, this game has a translation. Some of these options are just really unclear. Forget zodiac signs, which one of these are you? Instead of listing every single thing that I like and dislike about the game right here, why don't we just go full RPG and follow the life of a single character? Ladies and gentlemen, meet Yusei Fortnite. The eldest of 3 siblings, Yusei declined his application to Sakura High School and instead opted to attend B-Site Academy, a high school attended by 20-year-olds because Ichio Terms of Service says so. Unlike his younger brother Naruto and younger sister Yoko, Yusei has no extraordinary powers to speak of. Instead, he is constantly fraught with trouble. He was kicked out of his previous school for physically assaulting his bullies, and as a result has developed an apathetic, bitter personality. His only desire is to live a peaceful life, which is why the first thing he does upon moving in is buy a knife. He also buys a face mask to protect himself from contracting education. On Yusei's first day in town, he gets a job at a grocery store and meets some of his classmates. Specifically, he only speaks to cute girls and only gets to know them if their personalities will be of use to him later on. One girl that Yusei attempts to speak to instead turns out to be a body of water that he is forced to swim through. The next day is the first day of classes, where Yusei meets the eccentric Ayano Yoshida. She basically forces him into joining the occult club, which he ends up being fine with because nothing much ever happens in the club, like, at all. For now, he attends his classes like a good upstanding student should, helping him work towards one of many special perks. He also gets to know his classmates a bit more. In particular, he hits it off with Elsie, Heidi, and June. However, June's skirt is so short that her cooch is literally out in the open, disgusting Yusei. He decides to go confront the student council president about the matter, but he is instead forced to sit through an entire meeting and later has to convince 5 other people to vote for the incumbent president in the upcoming election. Because nothing ever goes right in Yusei Fortnite's life. Yusei tries to get to know Ayano, but the girl is too dense to talk about anything except video games. Yusei takes out his anger by doing push-ups. Yusei tries to read a book about programming, but he is too dense to learn anything from it. Yusei takes out his anger by doing push-ups. Yusei tries going to school early, but notices a bully attempting to extort a poor girl out of her lunch money. Enraged, Yusei reverts to his old habits and absolutely obliterates the bully. Unfortunately, this results in him getting caught up in a messy web of hooligans, abandoned factories, and deep corruption within the student council. Frustrated at landing himself into trouble again, Yusei takes out his anger by doing push-ups. Yusei visits the abandoned factory where the school bullies have set up shop under the pretense of forming a truce with them. Instead, he is ambushed by one of the hooligans and narrowly manages to win. Furious of being set up, Yusei takes out his anger by purchasing a video camera, setting it up in the back room of the swimming pool, recording the swimming club president having with her boyfriend, and using the footage to blackmail her into going on a date with him. To celebrate everything going according to plan, Yusei does some push-ups. Soon though, Yusei begins to mellow out, perhaps realizing that his sour attitude and violent tendencies are what's perpetuating his cycle of regret. He instead decides to dedicate himself to 3 new goals. A. Live a peaceful life. B. Build up the occult club and turn it into the hottest club in the school. And C. Lay pipe. To do this, Yusei would need to begin studying harder in order to acquire perks. He would also need to forge more meaningful relationships not only with his classmates, but with his clubmates, co-workers, and even former rivals. This meant putting aside his impudence and truly putting himself out there. For example, if a friend was in need of a hug, Yusei would not hesitate to, "Who are you?" Yusei began overseeing the growth of the occult club, recruiting members, assigning tasks, organizing meetings, and acquiring the equipment necessary to turn the club from a laughingstock into one of the school's most prestigious groups. The bonds Yusei forged began to pay off. He organized a concert at the school festival, he got promoted to manager at his grocery store job, he even deleted the video he recorded of the swimming club president and eventually made amends with her, becoming Mako's most trusted friend as he helped her through a messy breakup. And finally, Yusei managed to get a girlfriend after a couple of resets. And that's the tale of Yusei Fortnite, a man who managed to realize his flaws and better himself in spite of them. Before we ship off this story to a publisher so it can become a New York Times bestseller, let's go over the many things I skimmed over. For one, I left out a lot of the NSFW content. You can straight up ask our NPCs to do tons of loot things once your relationship with them is strong enough. There's also CG scenes with Ayano, Yuki, Mako, and other important story characters, in addition to the scenes that you can experience with the RNPCs. The NSFW aspects of School Game are remarkably high quality and are arguably the game's biggest draw, but I refrain from speaking about them for obvious reasons. There's also a ton of other things I skimmed over, such as the grocery store minigame, the fighting mechanic, the cooking mechanic, my favorite CG in the entire game, the temple you can pray at, Doshirak, randomly occurring NSFW events, the journalism club saga, the blackjack minigame, the glasses that can see through clothes, the really hot realtor, the achievement system, and a lot more stuff that you have to see yourself to believe. Back to those important story characters though, you might have recognized some of them from other works. Yeah, so while a lot of School Game's assets are original, some of them have been pulled directly from other sources. But I wouldn't consider it a big issue though, since it's clear that these ripped assets are merely placeholders. For example, our NPCs used to look like this, and now they look like this. However, the biggest problem with School Game doesn't come from its usage of other games' assets or time-consuming nature. The biggest problem is the game's level of polish. I'm well aware that this is an indie game, but nevertheless, School Game desperately needs some better quality assurance. The English translation is a mess. It's wildly inconsistent, uses nonsensical metaphors, and has some awkward phrasing, such as referring to a person's body as a carcass when they're very much alive. A game that relies this heavily on text should have a clean translation as its utmost priority. Unfortunately, School Game will be limited in its growth and audience as long as the translation remains this substandard. There's also a ton of bugs, like a lot of bugs. Some are funny, some are game breaking, some are not exactly game breaking but annoying enough that it grinds my gears a bit. Bug fixes for this game are frequent and appreciated, but like, come on.
What?
Hello from the editing bay. I'd like to say that most of the bugs that I played on 0.932 have been fixed in future versions. Unfortunately, every new version of School Game ends up introducing new bugs that make you scratch your head and wonder how they even ended up getting to the final product. So my criticism still stands. Finally, there's a mobile version available for School Game that is functionally the same as the PC version. This is a bad thing. Yes, it means that you're not missing out on any content between the two versions, but these menus were clearly designed for computer use, which is why trying to use them on a phone is fucking miserable. Buttons are tiny, text is even smaller, and scrolling wheels are just But let's end things on a positive note. School Game is an excellent school game. It entrenches its world and gameplay within its setting beautifully, linking them all together in a way that immerses you. To put it simply, it's fun and addicting. You really feel like you're experiencing the life of noted asshole you say Fortnite. Of all the school sim games featured in this video, I think I like School Game the most. It's also the one I put the most time into. I can't deny that the NSFW parts weren't a factor, but it has a rock solid gameplay loop, great role-playing elements, and enough culture that I still recommend it to most people, as long as they're over the age of 18. So what did we learn here today? Nothing, I hope. For My School Simulator, we could pray for it. But for Sakura School Simulator, Bad Guys at School, and School Game, they all live up to their namesakes by providing fun gameplay experiences set around a school. They each have their problems, but I think they're all still well worth checking out. They all work well with the synergy of gameplay, world design, and the school setting to create an experience that'll stick with you for a long time, just like a good education. Uh-oh.